Agni is a strategic ballistic missile. The Agni missile family is envisaged to be the mainstay of the Indian missile-based strategic nuclear deterrence. The Agni-II is a medium-range ballistic missile with two solid fuel stages and a post-boost vehicle integrated into the missile's re-entry vehicle. The Agni's manoeuvring RV is made of a carbon-carbon composite material that is light and able to sustain high thermal stresses of re-entry in a variety of trajectories. The Agni-II is a more advanced version of Agni-II, albeit with more sophisticated and lighter materials, yielding a better range and operating regime. Agni-II was later renamed as Agni-IV, plugging the gap between Agni-II and Agni-III, while the first test of Agni-IV in December 2010 was a failure. The second test flight in November 2011 was a success. Agni-II, developed as part of medium and long-range Agni series of missile systems, has already been inducted into the armed forces. On the 17th of May 2010, the trial was conducted with a special strategic command force of nuclear-capable Agni-II ballistic missile, with a range of 2,000 kilometers from the Wheelers Island off Orissa coast, thus making Agni-II missile operational by Army. The missiles are operated by the 335 Missile Group at Secunderabad using 12 TEL vehicles. Preface: evolving Indian security environment. During the 1990s, India's security situation gradually worsened with security challenges from China, blatant Chinese nuclear and missiles proliferation to Pakistan, and mutual proliferation between Pakistan and North Korea. The strategic red line was crossed in 1998 when Pakistan tested nuclear-capable Gari missile that could threaten India's heartland. The international complicity in allowing nuclear proliferation by proxy into the hands of Pakistan and ability to deliver it over long ranges, obtained by trading in black market North Korean No-Dong missiles, in return for Pakistani nuclear design and enrichment equipment by the nuclear and missile black market run by Pakistani scientist A.Q. Khan and the Pakistani military. These developments forced India to go fully nuclear, resulting in the Pokhran-II nuclear test series and its weaponization by developing the Agni family of ballistic missiles that could deliver a variety of payloads over long ranges. Quick deployment of the Agni-II was possible by building on the earlier Agni-TD program that provided proven critical technologies and designs required for a long-range ballistic missiles. Thus, when the decision was made to build the Agni weapon system, some quick optimization and ruggedization was done to the basic 1980 vintage design, including a solid-fueled second stage. The re-entry vehicle and avionics were brought up to state-of-the-art levels. The Pokhran-II nuclear test proved a family of more powerful and lighter nuclear weapons. The 200 knots thermonuclear weapon is far lighter compared to 1,000 kilograms earlier budgeted for the 200 knots boosted nuclear weapon. Thus, a high-yield weapon configuration now assumes a payload of 500 kilograms, including weapon and RV. However, in the interest of rapid development, the basic design that was earlier developed continued to be used, keeping the future option open for more optimized missile design and lighter payload. Testing. The Agni-II was first tested on the 11th of April 1999 at 9:47 am AST, from a converted rail carriage, with a carriage roof that slides open to allow the missile to be raised to the vertical for launch by two large hydraulic pistons. The launch process is controlled from a separate rail car. The missile was launched from the IC-4 pad at Wheeler Island, Balasore. Splashdown was 2,000 to 2,100 kilometers. downrange in the Bay of Bengal, on a trajectory designed to simulate a range of 2,800 to 3,000 kilometers. The Agni-II missile can also be launched from a rotor vehicle, as demonstrated in the second test flight on the 17th of January 2001, at 10:01 am IST to a range of 2,100 kilometers. This missile has a theoretical maximum range of some 3,000 kilometers with a 1,000 kilograms payload. Tested to range of over 2,000 kilometers, the Agni-II has an all-solid propellant system. After the 17th of January test, the missile was cleared for production, and it is possible that a production capacity exists for 12 Agni-II missiles per year. On the 17th of January test, the missile was alleged to have covered a range of over 2,100 kilometers with a 700 kilograms warhead. The Agni-II is designed to be launched from a rail mobile launcher, but it is also available in road mobile configuration. This lends flexibility and reduces vulnerability to first strike. The Agni-II is always in a ready-to-fire mode and can be launched within 15 minutes as compared to the almost half of a day preparation time for the previous generation Agni-II. In May 2001, and again in July 2001, the then-incumbent Defense Minister Jaswant Singh informed the Cabinet Committee on Security that the Agni-II missile is operational. Limited production had begun and induction being planned during 2001-2002. On the 14th of March 2002, Defense Minister George Fernandes informed Indian Parliament that the Agni-II has entered the production phase and is under induction. Agni-II was made by BDL in Hyderabad, with a production capacity of 18 missiles per year and costs about 35 crore rupees for each missile. On the 19th of May 2009, user trial of Agni-II was undertaken by Indian Army, while DRDO scientists provided required logistical support. The Agni-II missile was tested at 1006 hours IST from a defense base in Orissa. The missile was test-fired from Launchpad 4 from Integrated Test Range. Integrated Test Range is the missile testing facility on the Wheeler Island, near Damara in the district of Bhadrak. Initially it was announced by Indian media that India has successfully tested the nuclear-capable Agni-II missile from a defense base in Orissa. According to official sources, the aim of the test was to give the Indian Army confidence to fire the missile on its own. The May 2009 test, however, ended in failure of the Agni-II when the second stage failed to operate correctly and the missile started to veer wildly off course. In a subsequent retest at nighttime on November 2009, the missile once again failed completely at the second stage, this time dropping directly into the sea. On the 17th of May 2010, the missile was flight tested successfully from Wheeler Island off the Orissa coast. The flight lasted 660 seconds, with the missile achieving its full range, after which it splashed into the sea at the pre-designated target. A new navigation system which provides better accuracy as well as the capability to maneuver and defeat anti-ballistic missiles was tested during the trial. This was a training trial by the Indian Army. On the 30th of September 2011, another successful launch of Agni-II was conducted from Balasore, Orissa. The missile was fired from a rail mobile launcher and struck target 2,000 kilometers away within 10 minutes of launch, meeting all the performance parameters of the mission such as velocity, terminal phase, trajectory and destruction of the warhead. Another Another test was done on the 9th of August 2012, when the missile was successfully launched from Orissa by the Strategic Forces Command as a part of a training exercise. On Sunday, the 7th of April 2013, India again test-fired Agni-II ballistic missile with range of more than 2,000 kilometers from Wheeler Island, Odisha at 10:20 am. The test was carried out by the Strategic Forces Command of the Indian Army as part of training exercise with logistics support provided by the DRDO. The test was a complete success as per Mr. Prasad, the Director of Integrated Test Range Propulsion. First stage. The Agni-II's first stage uses solid fuel propellant. Second stage. The Agni-II's second stage weighs around 4,200 kilograms and uses solid fuel propellant. The case is presumably made of the same material as the booster stage for ease of manufacturing. This solid propellant stage has flex nozzles for thrust vectoring, enabling precise trajectory control. Unlike the Agni-II, the solid fuel's second stage does not require retromotors for proper stage separation. It uses a vented interstage, maneuvering re-entry vehicle Agni-II Mk2. The 1980 vintage RV was reportedly designed to be able to carry a BARC-developed, boosted nuclear weapon of 200 knots yield weighing 1,000 kilograms, also of 1980 vintage design. After making room for new and lighter Indian thermonuclear weapon payload of 1995 vintage design, the MRV has room for about 200 kilograms liquid fuel in pressurized vessels, although for velocity correction, approximately 50 to 80 kilograms is estimated to be sufficient. At least one MRV variant type uses a set of solid-fueled cartridges for velocity trimming. The RV is reported to have an attitude control system and aerodynamic maneuver fins. Unlike the Agni-II, the RV of Agni-I does not have fins, indicating use of a new method for RV maneuvering, presumably to make missile defense more difficult. Reports suggest that an improved optical radar terminal phase correlation system has been developed to provide accuracy of around 40 meters sep. The RV largely inherits the basic shape, design and technology of the earlier Mk1 RV of the Agni-II. Agni is unlike long-range missiles developed by Western missiles where the RV is a passive ballistic load, whose accuracy depends on the launching vehicle's exact insertion into the suborbital trajectory. A large inaccuracy associated with the first-generation RV involved spinning the RV for greater stability during re-entry. Second-generation Western missiles were mostly MIRV and the accuracy was greatly improved by the payload bus with ham velocity correction package. For more accurate suborbit insertion, it also allowed individual MIRV payloads to impart different velocities, so that each can be independently targeted to a different target, albeit in nearby vicinity of each other. As before, the RV continued to be passive and purely ballistic. The Agni-II Mk2 is more advanced than the Western RVs because it embodies proposition, navigation and control all the way to the target. The RV re-enters at an altitude of 100 kilometers at a shallow angle with a gliding trajectory. However, it does not carry a MIRV payload, which is not to be intended to mean that India does not have the technology. The country launched and accurately placed 10 satellites in a single launch in 2007 on its PSLV space vehicle, which was the first evidence of the country having revealed its expertise in this arena. Key features of the Agni-II Mk2 to the maneuvering fins that allows it to execute a non-ballistic trajectory to make interception more difficult, overcome any perturbation due to high-altitude atmospheric disturbance, enable use of body lift at hypersonic velocity to glide the missile over longer ranges, thus reducing the thermal and physical stress at a modified max Q point. Trajectory error to be determined late into the flight and corrected using aerodynamic force during re-entry. Terminal maneuver dive for a more acute target interdiction angle, reducing the SEP. Support a wider range of payload weight and configuration. Integrated velocity correction package for greater precision has a set of solid-fueled cartridge that are used to correct impulse variances of solid-fueled stages and subtle launch trajectory perturbation. Integrated high-altitude motor which is liquid fuel. Depending on the actual payload configuration, the HAM fuel load can be increased to trade range for a lighter and more compact weapon. Larger internal volume allows more sophisticated ABM countermeasures. Avionics, navigation and control. The Agni family of missiles uses a strap-down INS system for flight control and navigation. Necessary inertial sensors were indigenously developed for the purpose, including laser rate gyros. Agni-II introduced a new concept in missile control system by adopting missile.The 1553 database for all on-board communication and control device. Interconnection mainly INS system. Flight control computer, actuators and sensors. It is the standard that is adopted in new civilian and AMP military aircraft, and all the software in the Agni-II has been designed around this bus. DRDO sources claim that this reduces the number of connections and also makes the missile more rugged. However, some missile analysts feel that a standard database may not be the best path to follow. It is said that a customized database is better because in a standard database, one tends to use off-the-shelf electronic devices whose performance may not be optimal. However, most new missiles are moving towards digital buses using commercial off-the-shelf technology, and which enables affordable subsystem replacement. Accuracy. The Agni-II's navigation and aiming uses an advanced ground-based beacon system using a TDOA technique, similar to a GPS system, that constantly provides missile flight position and velocity updates and has been proven in test flights. The TDOA system reportedly improved the accuracy by 3 times. India has demonstrated a measure of mastery in navigation sensors and flight control through its space program. The placement accuracy in GTO is far more complicated and delicate than that of the suborbital trajectory of an IRBM. Thus, the GSLV-D2 and F-01 GTO apogee accuracy of 1965 ppm and 361 ppm respectively, that compares with Agni-II's 40-meter separate IRBM ranges with 13 ppm accuracy. It is worthwhile to note that INS error differs for a ballistic missile versus an aircraft. Ballistic missile accuracy is only dependent on the INS accuracy up to the point when rocket fuel is expended and it exits the atmosphere. After that, the trajectory is purely ballistic, that is predetermined and easily computed. INS in a combat aircraft requires continuous operation of IMU and navigation computer throughout the flight, during which the error keeps building as IMU sensors drift. A ballistic missile that can update its position and velocity from auxiliary means can completely eliminate the built-up error from INS and continue flight at a precise predetermined path, if necessarily correcting the launch error by using small velocity correction thruster package and/or aerodynamic maneuvering during re-entry. The Agni-II missile reportedly makes use of both the above techniques. The Agni-II exits atmosphere and expends the second stage at an altitude of 120 km and at a distance of about 150 km. This allows the ground-based TDOA system to operate well within Indian territory and at close range. The missile maintains loss well beyond apogee. The overall accuracy is the cumulated sum of accuracy of determining geographic coordinate of target and launcher, accuracy of hitting the designated coordinates that is determined by missile's navigation and control system. Launching the Agni from a surveyed site is one aspect of Item 1 above. The sub-meter target coordinates, using national surveillance assets, would largely address the accuracy of target coordinate designation. A long-range ballistic missile targeting error is typically spread in a highly elliptic pattern. The SEP is thus adversely biased by a wide error spread in a longitudinal axis. The Agni's active maneuvering RV with onboard IMU and control system can perform terminal maneuver to correct errors and make a more accurate top-attack profile using greater incidence angle, significantly reducing the longitudinal spread and overall SEP. While earlier test versions of the missile had a SEP of plus or minus 100 meters, the latest versions will have a SEP of around 30 meters. Range. The Bharat Rakshak website has extensive data and analysis that uses public domain data and ballistic calculations to show that the range is greatly influenced by use or non-use of thrusters on the RV for propulsion as a ham. There seems to be room in the RV for about 200 kilograms fuel after allowing for a long but lightweight thermonuclear weapon. This RV integrated ham is referred to as the half stage after the two solid-fueled stages. This stage provides a disproportional increase in range for a lighter RV payload. Thus, development of lightweight nuclear weapons is paramount to the missile's range. When the Agni-II was first launched, then Defense Minister George Fernandez indicated that the maximum range of the Agni-II was 3,000 kilometers. Since then, ranges from 2,000 kilometers to 2,500 kilometers have been stated, while Drive Kalam at Aero India 98 stated that Agni-II had a maximum range of 3,700 kilometers. The missile was tested to 2,300 kilometers in 1999 and 2,100 kilometers in 2001, with an apparently lighter payload. It would appear that Agni-II has a theoretical ability to hit a target 3,000 kilometers away with a 1,000 kilograms overall payload. A 250 kilograms RV with a 750 kilograms warhead. It is suggested that a 200 kiloton boosted fission warhead was earlier developed for the Agni system when it was on the drawing board in the late 80s. However, after the Pokhran II series of nuclear tests in May 1998, the 200 knots boosted fission design has clearly given way to a 200 to 300 knots two-stage thermonuclear design that is expected to be much lighter. Range changes can be made by either varying the payload or by altering the engine configuration. Greater range with a lighter payload, however, requires the RV to be qualified for higher re-entry velocity and corresponding max Q for thermal stress. Conclusion. As the backbone of the Indian land-based nuclear deterrent, the real significance of the Agni-II is the fact that it is both road and rail mobile. This is an indication of India's desire not to put its missiles into vulnerable silos. The mobility of the Agni-II, combined with the sheer physical size of India, renders the mobile IRBM a very secure and survivable delivery system. Its range of strategic weapons payload and good accuracy make this strategic weapon useful for counter-value as well as first strike role.